What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to the $10,000 EIDL Grant Stimulus Update Big Review. It's Sunday, March the 21st, 2021. Please do me each favor. Give this video a thumbs up. Hashtag EIDL in the comments below. And if you're not following me on Twitter right now, I ask that you please join us at Remote Online. That's at Remote Online on Twitter. And don't forget, make sure you subscribe here and hit the bell. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you might notice a little bit of a different intro there. The reason for that, it's spring. As of yesterday, it is now spring here in the United States, and I have a hell of a lot more that I want to talk about than just EIDL, which, believe it or not, is actually coming to an end. So instead of screaming and hollering like you can't hear me and smacking the desk to open up the videos, I'll save that for later if the mood shakes me. But in the meantime, I'm going to soften it up a little bit because I'm going to talk about all sorts of things. Current events, how to invest and trade in the stock market, lessons that my grandfather taught me many, many years ago, what it was like for me to go bankrupt in 2008, and much, much more, including the brand new website we're going to launch to grow your business before, let's say, my birthday when I turned 51 on April the 13th. So if you're looking for a slightly toned down open, I know some of you are going to be disappointed. Pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee, glass of wine, ice cold beer. Here we go. It has to happen, ladies and gentlemen. I don't need to be smacking the desk and screaming and hollering. I have other topics that are not going to require that kind of an open. So I need to tone it down a little bit and pretend that you're sitting right over here in the love seat or sofa to my left. We're having a cup of coffee. If it was 5 o'clock somewhere, as my grandfather used to say, maybe an ice cold beer. So I want to take 10 or 15 minutes and review everything as we know it, from the targeted idle advance to the $5,000 supplemental, which there is still disagreement on, all the way to what does it mean with Jackie Rosen's EIDL for Small Business Act? Will it pass? When will it pass? And how much money, whether you're in low, middle, or high income communities, are you set to receive? All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is crystal clear. If you are in a low-income community, as defined by the IRS code that the SBA is using, which is about a third of you, maybe even 40%, you stand to get $15,000. It'll be in two buckets. The first bucket, which is going to go out big time next week, based on news coming out of the SBA in the last 48 hours, is $10,000 for the targeted idle advance for low-income communities in Section 331 of the bill that passed on December the 27th. The American Rescue Plan that passed about 10 days ago adds another $10 billion in that pile. So there's at least $30 billion for targeted idle advances for low-income communities. You got to have less than 300 employees, and you got to show a 30% economic loss in 2 successive months between March and December. So it might be March and April and May versus the prior year. You got less than 300 employees and you got a 30% economic loss in 8 successive weeks, you're getting $10,000. But we also learned in the American Rescue Plan, there's $5 billion for targeted supplemental EIDL advance. And our good friend, and I love this guy, Max Maher, tremendous with respect to just about everything, including PPP and JJ the CPA. Those two guys have my trust and respect as being experts, among other things, in PPP. So if you have any questions, you need to direct them that way. But Max has a contact that I don't want to disrespect at the SBA, who is rather adamant that the $5,000 supplemental grant is for low-income communities only. I, who have contacts at the Senate level, pinned in the top comment, one of them is Brian Schatz, or as somebody in Hawaii pointed out, it's shots. Like you're taking a shot. Okay, shots, schmatz. Brian Schatz, a Democrat out of Hawaii, has a letter. It's pinned in the top at senate.gov. And there's almost 15 senators, including one of my 2 here in Georgia. They're using the same exact article or summary of the American Rescue Plan. And if you scroll down to the section, again, it's pinned in the top comment, Brian Schatz, there is a sentence inside of the $5,000 supplemental where it clearly states the targeted supplemental advance is not just for low-income communities. And if you call Brian's office, you'll get his staff. Some senators are very, very good at engaging and responding to folks. Others like Marco Polo, absolutely the worst. You will never get anything out of him, or don't forget Darth Vader, Mr. Mitch McConnell, who has no soul. It's tumbleweed through the desert. You won't get anything out of those two. But you call Brian Schatz. It's true. You call Brian Schatz, his office, especially if you send an email and then call a couple of times, leave a voicemail, they'll call you back. And just say, hey, Brian, I'm on Senate.gov right now reading your summary of the American Rescue Plan, and it says that the $5,000 supplemental EIDL advance is for all communities, low, middle, and high. Is that true? They will tell you, yes, it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have here another situation. Maybe it's like last year, right? Congressional intent in the CARES Act was to get you $10,000 within 72 hours, regardless of size or location, right? Well, the prior administration, Mr. Hermes, actually, maybe she is. We don't edit that out. We're leaving that in. Maybe that is a factual Freudian slip. Part of me wants to edit that out, but I won't. The prior administration, Miss Hermes / Versace scarf, took it upon herself, she doesn't like that tough shit, to ration the grant and cap the loans illegally based on congressional intent, right? Schumer, Pelosi, and 45 others plus from both parties said, wait a second, it's supposed to be 10 grand within 72 hours. That was congressional intent. The Democrats ended up blaming President Trump for the rationing, possible by way of Secretary Mnuchin, but both of those two are gone. And as I've been saying now for 2 weeks plus, it's on the Democrats now. They control the White House, the Senate, and the House. They don't need a single Republican vote, for all you desk slappers, to get rid of the low-income community requirements, as well as regardless of size or location. There's no reason why, and the EIDL for Small Business Act, known as S4227 by JACKY, ROSEN, and Republican John Cornyn, could sail right through. So I said on Twitter this morning, Chuck Schumer, what's stopping you? You're yapping your gums about the Orangemen, which, by the way, I played in the Carrier Dome 1988, when as quarterback of the Indian River Warriors, we beat Port Byron 42-0 to win the New York State High School Football Championship. So I love the Orangemen and gals in Syracuse, New York. But Chuck, what's stopping you as leader of the Senate, a lifelong dream of yours, of calling a vote? You have bipartisan support. We can get $10,000 of the balance thereof, regardless of size or location. Remove those damn loan caps so we can open up the door for another 6 months of working capital. And at some point, Big Ben Cardin and I are going to get the EIDL loan wiped out so that you never have to pay the SBA a dime. And special thanks to Maria Zalazar, who I copy all the time, who helped get Miss Isabel Guzman to take discretion and postpone the payments on the loan for another year. But do we have another scenario here? I'm coming back, where the Senate is at a disagreement with the SBA, or at least one contact that Max has, because Senator Schatz and at least 10 or 15 others are using the same exact summary of the American Rescue Plan. And it says you don't have to be in low income to get $5 grand. So at a minimum, I would encourage, by the way, Max, have your SBA contact call Senator Schatz's office and say, hey, it's our impression here at the SBA that it's low income only for the entire 15 grand. And let him tell you, along with others, no, we're throwing a bone, right? We're throwing a crumb, or as my partner would say, a tip to those in middle and high income communities. But they're going to have to be gutted, because to get $5 grand, you're going to have less than 10 employees and show a 50% economic loss in 2 successive months between March and December. So here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen, on our big Sunday review. If I'm you and you're in low income and you've gotten an email, I am mentally preparing myself and my family for $15,000 if you've suffered at least a 50% economic loss and you've got less than 10 employees. That gets you the whole 15. It'll be in 2 separate buckets. Big time next week for all of you that have already applied. The balance of the 10 grand will hit. Those of you that applied between July and December when they ran out, you're probably looking at another 3 or 4 weeks for the money to hit. Many of you haven't even gotten your email yet. And then everybody else that's in middle or high, at some point, end of April, 1st of May, they're going to roll out this supplemental $5,000 grant. I personally believe Brian Schatz is right. in that it's for all communities, but you're going to have to show that 50% economic loss and have fewer than 10 employees. However, perhaps to the best news of this Sunday afternoon, did I mention it's spring? I am totally convinced, and you've seen me engage with the same 7 or 8 people, that we're about to see a vote called on the Senate floor for the EIDL for Small Business Act, known as S4227. If you haven't seen the video I did, where I not only confessed to having a crush on Jackie, Rosen, Nydia Velasquez, and Maria Salazar, by the way, one of the 3 offices has contacted me and says that one of those 3 ladies got a kick out of the video that I did. I'm not going to say who it was, but they're well aware of the fact that I not only have a crush, and it goes well beyond outer looks. These women are passionate, they're persistent, they're committed. They're bucking the system in many cases to get you 10 grand, removal of the caps and the damn loans altogether forgiven. So I have the utmost respect for them. But I do believe, based on everything I know, and I know quite a bit on the Senate side in particular, I will be very surprised if Chucky Schumer doesn't call a vote, let's say within 2 or 3 weeks. And there's going to be well over 60 votes because, again, Ted Cruz is also in alignment with John Cornyn in Texas in support of 10 grand regardless of size or location and the removal of the caps. There's others. Senator Kennedy, many of you know him, very funny guy. I think it's Louisiana and or Mississippi. Forgive me if I don't know the exact location. He's also in favor of it. So there's probably 7 or 8 Republicans in the Senate that I know of that are going to vote for this. And I would imagine all of the Democrats. But again, as I've been saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks, we don't need a single Republican in either the House or the Senate. The Democrats control everything. So Chuck, as I said again this morning, what's stopping you from calling a vote? Why aren't you going to call this? You can be the hero. We'll let you get on the tallest soapbox and tell everybody, like you did in Peru, New York on August the 19th in front of my family and my friends that grew up in upstate New York. And you said, we want $80 billion of grant money and another $100 billion alone. And there was no mention in that speech or the bill that you had to be in a low-income community, and there was no discrimination regardless of size or location, Chuck. So here's your chance, Mr. Big Shot. Call the vote. There's going to be bipartisan support. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, as I begin to wrap up this video, it doesn't matter if you live in a low, middle, or high. It doesn't matter if you suffered a 10, 30, 50% economic loss. If Jackie Rosen is successful, and I believe she will be, with bipartisan support of getting her bill through the House, it's $10,000 of the balance thereof, regardless of where you live. And by the way, if you got bad credit, you still get the grant. You may not get the loan that requires a 570. It removes the caps, which opens the door. One of the 7 or 8 I copy is Karen Mills, former head of the SBA, also pinned in the top comment, big. Yeah, maybe it's big. It's not Big Ben Cardin. It's Big Ben Cardin. December 10th, him and Karen Mills called for another 6 months of working capital because the pandemic's going on for a year. So if Jackie's bill goes through, it's 10 G's, maybe another 5. It's regardless of size or location, it's the removal of the caps, opening the door for another 6 months of working capital. And as Big Ben Cardin and I are going to do, along with others, to get the EIDL loan forgiven so you never pay the SBA a dime because of Maria Salazar and, of course, Isabel Guzman, who I have tremendous respect for. I was exchanging tweets with her this morning. We get another year to work on forgiveness because you're not required to make a payment until 2022. So, quick summary. If you're in low income, mentally prepare yourself for 15 G's. 10 grand in the next couple of weeks, another 5 grand in the next month or so. If you're in a middle or high income community, I, along with Brian Schatz and others in the Senate, believe it's open to everyone. And it would make sense, right? Let's toss them a bone if they've been substantially or severely impacted. But again, if Jackie Rosen comes up the rear and gets the EIDL for Small Businesses Act, along with John Cornyn, into the Senate and it'll sail through the House, it makes all of it mute. So yes, some of you will have had to jump through a shitload of hoops in order to get your $10,000 or $15,000. But my goodness, if I haven't said it enough, Jackie Rosen could put an end to all this madness and say, if you're among the 9 million in the queue, 5.7 million that already got a grant at $1,000 per employee, or you applied between July and December 27th when they ran out of money, as long as you're legitimate you're eligible, you're a covered entity in a low, middle, or high income community, you're going to get at least $10,000 and perhaps $15,000 or the balance thereof. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I hope at least some of you enjoyed a little bit more of a chilled out open. And until next time, always remember, I love each and every single one of you. And thank you so much for watching.